In this OpenShot tutorial, I will show you how to create a pan and zoom slideshow. Now, if you've never used OpenShot before, the first thing you'll need to decide on is what frame rate, aspect ratio and format you're going to render your video into. So once you've decided on what you're going to do, mine at present is set at 1080p 25 frames per second, as you should be able to see in the top left of the screen. So if you want to change this, look for the button that says edit, left click on it, and left click preferences. Ignore all this, but left click on profiles. So here we are, HD 1080p 25 FPS 25 frames per second. So I'm going to change this. So I'm going to just left click. You can do it at 25 frames per second, but just to show you an example, I'm going to just left click on the little button or little arrow and change it to 50 frames per second. There you are, and left click on close, and it'll say restart OpenShot for these preferences to take effect. So we'll restart. Okay. Now what you'll need to be able to see is your profiles of each image once you've brought them in. So before doing anything, the easiest way to do that actually is to look for the little view button and left click on it, and then next to views, left click advanced view, and this will bring all this lovely pretty pictures and transformations up, and also your properties box. So let's make this a bit more useful. Left click on the little sort of dots that are in a line and drag everything over so that, and down, so that you've got a decent view on your viewer. Okay. In the box below project files, if you can import your images by right clicking, then left click import files and selecting your images. I don't do this because I can never get to see the thumbnail. So what I do is I go into my file browser and literally open up the file I want to use and select the images I'm going to use. So I'll just hold down Control and left click on these three images, say reduce the size, and then drag them into this project files page. Now you might find this comes up, import image sequence. I think that's more to do with stop motion, so you don't want that. So obviously, you know, if you had like 1,000 images, you could import it as a stop motion, but we don't want that, so left click on no. Okay, put your pointer over the image you want to use, hold down your left mouse button and drag it into the timeline. Make sure the magnet is selected, because when you drag it back you want it to snap into place. Also make sure you're at the beginning, so if you're not sure, just left click on this left hand button, jump to start. Now the first thing that happens is you end up with a mobile phone sort of image, which is fine for photography, but why anybody ever videos that like this, I don't know. I would hate to go and watch a widescreen film on a cinema that has the screen in this angle, but anyway, I digress. Okay, so first of all we want this to fit into the view, this black box. So that's really easy. In your profile box, drag your slider down until you can see the word scale, and next to it best fit. Right click on best fit, then left click crop. And what that's done is it's blowing your image up right in the middle to actually fit fit the screen, and obviously you've got the bits missing at the top and bottom. So let's do a simple pan up and down on its Y axis. In fact, if you can get, in fact, I'm just going to move this up very slightly and move this so I can see location X, location Y, scale X, scale Y. Now X is from left to right or right to left, Y is top and bottom, just in case you didn't know. So making sure we're right at the start, this is very important as well, of this first clip. Right click on it and then left click transform. You can use the shortcut Control R. Mine just closes off my screencast. It's no good to anybody, so I'm going to left click on transform, and you'll see you've got a little dot in the middle. Put your pointer on the dot. Now all I'm going to do in this example is drag this down so that it's, I don't know, about there. And again, I'm going to move this so I can see my location and scale. Now it's moved a bit on the X axis, which means it's moved, I think, to the left. So I'm going to center it up in the X axis by left clicking on it and then typing 0 and hitting return, and that's put it right back in the middle. Always worth keeping these keeping your eye on these locations and scales. Okay, so that's the beginning. I'm going to jump to the end, so the very right button, left click on it, jump to end. So I'm going to now, using the blue dot, move this up until I get to a place where I want to pan it like that, and I'm going to, it says minus 0.00, so I'm going to just type in 0 there again on the X axis, and I know I'm right in the middle. Now the first thing you'll notice is that these have changed the green, which means that they've actually created a kind of keyframe, a place right at the end. But then you'll also notice a sort of a little box with a little circle just in it and a squiggly line. Now this sort of relates to how Blender 3D animation works, and as a default, what that means, the squiggly line means that when this pans, it will start and hardly move, gradually speed up, go to a constant speed, and then gradually slow down, which actually don't look too bad on a slideshow until you start changing your Y and X axis. What that'll then do is it can curve the movement, which again you might want to do, but to keep things simple, always, for now, I'm going to do everything as a linear, constant speed. So put your pointer over the little sort of box with a squiggly line in it, right click, then left click linear, and do the same on the Y axis. So both have got straight lines from bottom left to top right. And now if I go back to the beginning, I can press play, and I'll have a pan, a very simple pan, nothing more exciting than that, keeping the aspect ratio in the screen. Okay, now again, one of the most important things to remember when doing this is always start your next clip with this marker here in the timeline right at the end. If you're not sure, just left click on this arrow button here, jump to end. So let's bring in another image and snap it to the end. And again, we want to make sure this actually fills the screen. So best fit, right click on it, then left click crop. So that's fine. Now one thing to remember with these clips, when you import them into OpenShot, I imagine yours is the same as mine, it'll come in and it'll be somewhere here, the boxes tell you, I can't see it for now. Yeah, 10 seconds. So you got a 10-second clip, you can change that, and in fact I'll show you how to change the time on these clips when I do the very last one, because on the very last one I'll do a little bit more of a sort of advanced keyframing, so hopefully you'll stick to the end. Right, okay, now I want to pan and zoom this one, so let's zoom onto this shop front here. So again, make sure you're at the start, and then right click on your next image and then left click transform, and that's fine. Everything's gonna be, I'm not going to touch this for now. Then I'm going to go to the end, jump to end button, the end. Now nothing's changed, so you won't see you won't have a green highlight come up, but let's get to scale and location. So I could, if I wanted to, start changing the scales here. Now unfortunately mine doesn't go up in size, I can only come down, which is fine. I know I'm going to be going to this sort of area here, so what I'm going to do, again with my pointer over this blue arrow, I'm actually going to drag this over. So I want that in the middle roughly. In fact, I'll bring this down. Now hopefully you can see a blue dot. If you left click on it, you can drag your image over and you'll get a kind of stretched effect. In fact, I'm going to just drag that a bit more. Now I want to make sure I'm not outside the box. That's the one problem with black and dark grey. Can't always see the edge. Anyway, I'm not going to go into any more detail about resolving that. Okay, so let's look at that. So I'm just going to move this slightly. Now one of the problems that's happened here is it actually hasn't changed anything, your scale and that. So just move your pointer back. This happens sometimes and I don't know why. And then drag it back, in fact go back to the end. And then what you should find is that your x-axis, if you've done it this way, would have changed. I don't know why it doesn't change automatically, but just literally drag back a bit and then go forward. And now what it's telling me here is I've actually increased the view size on the x-axis by 1.65. So if I left click on the Y scale and type in 1.65, I've gone back to what I want it to look like. In fact, now I'm going to drag this down a bit so I can actually see the view better. I've probably gone far too big a zoom, but you can, it sort of shows you what I wanted to do. Okay, I'm making sure I'm still at the end. Change your animation speed or a way it animates. This will look awful if I leave it as it is. So right click on the little box and then left click linear. Do the same for all four. In fact, that one changed automatically. Now if I go back to the beginning, I can run this through and I've got a simple pan up and down and a pan and zoom. Now something went wrong there, and I can see straight away what's happened. The size is not the same on this one here. It's X is 1.67 and Y is gone to 1.65, so I'm going to just change that to 1.67, and that should resolve that issue. Don't know if you notice it got a bit squashy looking. It always pays to keep an eye on these boxes here, and that's worked fine. Okay, and again, always at the end of your last clip or image, make sure you're at the end, you need to drag your next one in. So I don't know, let's do this one. I'm going to drag this one in, and again I'm going to leave it at 10 seconds, but I need to fill the screen, so I'm going to drag this down, and where it says best fit, right click, then left click, crop. Okay, so making sure you're at the beginning or right at the end of the next one. You won't find it. If you have to set yourself up again, just right click and left click on remove clip and bring it back in if you're not sure you're at the beginning, because this will not work, otherwise you'll end up in a mess. But anyway, we're at the beginning of this next clip. We've resized it, but I want to pan left to right. So again, right click on the clip, then left click on transform. So I could change, if I wanted, down here the size on X, Y, but again you'll probably find it won't increase in size. So let's drag this over, and then again, like I said before, using the blue dot, drag this in so it's just covering or just inside the edge. And I think that will do. Again, practice with these things is always the best way. So let's have a look. What have we done? So X is saying 1.56, so in Y I'm going to type 1.56. Yeah, that don't look bad. Don't want to crop his head off. Yep, that's good. Okay, so let's go to the end. So jump to end, for right button, left click on it, and just make a note. I'm going to just make a note of the Y axis. It's 0.01. Okay, I'm going to use the blue dot and drag this over. I don't want him on the end. Getting in my picture, they're a bloody nuisance, these people. And that will do. I haven't changed the scale, so nothing will change here. That's looking good. Location. Okay, and I'm going to just right click on this box and change the linear, these little grey boxes here, linear, and let's play this through. Now that was a point in question. That was a bit fast, so what I should have done is increase the length of this. So let's look at doing a simple increase in length of a video or a slideshow or a video from a picture. So again, making sure you're at the very end, I'm going to drag this last image in, and again right click on best fit, then left click crop. Okay, now if I start panning left to right, this person here, I do actually know who this is, and I know who they are, but anyway, I won't go into that. Will disappear very quickly. So, and also because I'm going to pan quite a lot over to this side here, want to increase the length. So again, it's experience to a certain extent. The more you do this, the more you'll get an idea of what you're doing. So first of all, doesn't really matter what you can see from the time, but I'll just so as you can see, it says 10 seconds again on the duration. Now if you put your pointer over the edge, you can actually decrease or increase the length of your clip. It won't change in here until you release the edge, so like that, I can take this down to about 4 odd seconds, or I can increase it to, I don't know, let's take it up to, this is 20.88, so that's 20 seconds. So I think that'd probably be good enough for what I want. Let's see. Okay, now again, making sure at the beginning, this is most important, right click on your image and then left click on transform. Okay, so I'm going to just move this down so where I can actually see the top, and what I'm going to do is just check the location. So location X, let's type 0 in and we're back to where we want to be. Okay, now I want this to actually not start panning straight away, so again, as we done before, make sure that you can see the scale and location positions. I should have made this box larger, but I wanted to have a big view on here. And everything's set up to how you want it set up. Now I'm going to just drag this in a bit just to show you what can be done. So we'll just take it into there. Now right click on your location and insert, and then left click insert keyframes. Do the same for scale. I don't need to do this really, but it's just a good habit to get into. So you've right clicked on location Y, X and XY scale, and you've created a keyframe at this point, which is the same, it's going to be the same as your original right at the beginning. And again, these have actually come up as linear, so rather than slowing in and out of the video clip, so that's fine. If it isn't, right click on them and left click linear. Okay, so now I'm going to want to pan over to this side and then leave it for a bit stationary. So I'm going to go all the way over to, I don't know, about there, and I want to zoom in on this section, so I'm going to just drag this over, wallop over to there, and then using the blue arrow I'm going to just take this over like that. Let's see what that looks like. So this is come down at this on the x-axis, it now says on here 1.72, so in the y I'm going to change it, so I'm going to left click and type in 1.72 and hit return, and I'll straighten this up using the blue dot, and looking pretty good just there. Okay, now we've got this wobbly line animation sort of curve, so I'm going to right click and go to linear again, linear, these on linear. Okay, hopefully this should, when I play it, we'll see what I mean in a minute, be stationary and then start panning. It will skip because it's, as you've got a super duper computer, OpenShot will give up the ghost eventually, but anyway. And then stationary. Happy days, it works. Incidentally, if you want to try and use transitions, I wouldn't even try it unless you've got a really fast computer. What I would do is do each clip individually, render each one individually, then bring them back in as a video, and then use your transitions, and you might have a fighting chance of getting it to work. Crossfade or whatever, you've got all these fancy squiggly transitions, but I'm not a great lover of them, so apart from maybe occasionally a crossfade, I don't use them. And that's basically it. I think we've succeeded. That's just or I have anyway. Check everything's looking okay. Now don't worry if this happens. This means nothing now, these, because they do change, but anyway, carry on. These little squiggly lines in a box. Yep, good. I think we can take that as working fine. Okay, rendering. I won't go into adding music because really the whole point of this was just to show you how to do a slideshow. I'll do an audio sort of malarkey maybe later on next week or something like that. Okay, right, top of the screen, red dot, left click on it, and this is your it says export, but it's your render button. Okay, give it a title. So I don't know, I'm going to just call this slideshow. I don't know, can't remember what it is, another one on the desktop, but anyway, we'll give it a go. So that says slideshow, and then decide where you're going to save it. So left click on the browser button. Me being lazy, I'll dump it on my desktop until I decide what I want to do with it. And then left click choose, and then left click export video, and I'll come back to this when it's finished rendering. Okay, that's finished rendering now, so hopefully with a bit of luck, let's close that down, I should have a half decent slideshow. And that's working fine. Okay, let's close that down. Go back into this. Don't want that, that's my screencast. Right. And that's all there is to it really. The only thing I would say is sometimes you can, if you're going to go more extreme, you might have to change your sizes in these boxes here. So just do a preliminary resize the way I done it, and then increase it or move your positions using the locations or scale via the scale boxes. It's quite quick. I mean, I've taken a bit of time doing this. I can bang out a slideshow quite quickly. I use a similar process on other video editors. Once you get used to it, and you get a kind of idea of the length of clip that you're going to want by how much you're zooming in and out. It's a very quick way of doing this. It might seem hard work, but it's not. It really isn't. Once you get used to it, that's all there is to it, really. So hopefully this helps somebody, or not. Thank you for watching. Cheers.